everyone, and welcome to Dream Space TV, the Brainwave series here at One Microsoft Place in Dublin. I'm Corey, and that's Amanda.
In our last episode, we looked at machine learning. We looked at specifically two types of machine learning, supervised machine learning. And Corey, if you remember, we actually demonstrated this through how we train data. We did labeling with our AI for Oceans activity. And we also looked at unsupervised machine learning, and we discussed how clustering is a good example of this.
By the end of this episode, you should be able to outline the role of artificial neural networks in deep learning, explain what is meant by generative AI, provide examples of generative AI in action, explain the importance of responsible AI, discuss bias in AI and examples of how this occurs, and describe the ethical challenges that can occur with AI.
So Corey, before we dive into all those things you've outlined that are part of today's episode, I think maybe for everyone watching, we'll take a step back, because it's episode 4 now. Have a look at, well, what have we covered to now? And then that might help the context of what we're covering today.
Okay, let's do it.
So I'm going to start with what we start with the series, which was what is artificial intelligence. And across the episodes now, we hopefully have seen what it is and where it is. But really importantly, what we wanted everyone to know is what are the components behind this. So we talked about
data, algorithms,
and then
machine learning.
So we talked about artificial intelligence and how we could have these intelligent machines imitating some human skills. And then we brought in that really big component of learning, which was machine learning, which was our last episode, like we outlined already. And today then, within machine learning, we're going to see how this can really, I suppose, become more advanced again. You might be thinking, how could it be more advanced? But it does get more advanced. And that's specifically looking at something called deep learning. Now, deep learning is a machine learning technique, and it's kind of trying to mirror what we see in humans in terms of neural networks. So, as you know, I love science and love biology specifically as well. So when we think about how our neural networks work as humans, so like for us to send and receive messages in our bodies, it's very much similar. So I have a little setup over here I've done to hopefully make this seem a little bit clearer. So if you think about it, as a human, Corey, if we just take a human example, forget about kind of the deep learning for a second. If I touch off something really, really hot, what do?
You pull your hand away, hopefully.
Pull my hand away, So what happens is there's an input, there's a process that happens in the middle there, which is basically neurons that I have that are like firing messages as quickly as possible. And then it causes a reaction for me. So there's a stimulus and a reaction. And so the reaction at the end tends to be an output. So if I think about it, I have an input. So let's say I have this little duster here. This is my input, okay? I'm going to knock the first block here. And that's going to kind of, I suppose, signify the process, which tends to be over time across multiple different layers. Things are happening. And then the output at the end should be that it knocks the ball away. Let's see. Are you ready? Do you want to count me down?
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Boom. Okay, so that kind of explains that side. That's a very basic example, I suppose, when we think about it from a human perspective. But when we think about it from an artificial neural network perspective, it's very, very similar. What the artificial neural networks and deep learning are trying to do is mirror this. However, when we look at what AI can do, they want it to be really advanced. So not only are they going to have a simple kind of process, they're going to have a really, really advanced network. And that means they have to do lots and lots of training. So it's not just a case of being like, oh, it's working. They have to keep training it and training it and training it and training it to get it really working well. So very advanced, but that's what it's trying to do. It's really trying to mimic us as humans.
Now, Amanda, I know you could talk about neural networks all day, and I could actually listen to you because it is fascinating. But what we want to get across to everyone is basically the advancements that's happened in AI. And especially now with deep learning, we've seen in episode 1 that we talked about that AI has these human capabilities, and we see that in deep learning. But now it's even got more advanced. And I know you're thinking like, how? But we have this thing called generative AI. And generative AI is basically when AI is able to create new things.
Yes, so generative AI uses models and algorithms to generate new original data, which is often similar to, but not exactly the same as the data it was trained on.
Yeah, so Amanda, we've seen that in episode 1 with Bing chat and text, but let's have a look at images.
Yes, definitely. So, okay, now before we jump into this, I think we should think of a scenario.
Yes, love a
So
scenario.
what I'm thinking is very often we have great ideas. We're entrepreneurial. So we might want to be like, actually only the other day, I think I was talking about a company I think I could make for myself. So let's think about maybe a company. So Corey, what do you think our company should do?
Noodles.
What?
Noodles.
Like noodles you eat?
Yeah. We're always
Not the
eating
cool
noodles.
noodles.
Oh, cute, but no.
Okay.
Noodles.
Noodles you eat.
Noodles you eat.
Okay, this is how random Corey is, everybody. Right, okay, noodles, fine. So, okay, so we are going to be selling noodles.
Yeah.
Like uncooked? Okay, actually, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we are going to be selling noodles. All right, so first things first, let's get our image creator to create us a logo that we could use for our company.
Oh, great idea.
So, what are we thinking? Noodles? Are you just going to write noodles, or do we want to say
logo for noodles, or?
Yeah, create a logo.
Logo, yeah, because
for our noodle
company.
Logo
for our noodle company, because you do have to be quite specific with these prompts, don't you?
Yeah.
Well,
the more specific you are, the more, I suppose, the output will be more matched to what you want. So this might take a second just to generate, but then we should have, I think it normally gives us a couple of options.
It does, yeah. We'll pick what we think is the best option for our noodle company.
Exactly. And like we did with, I suppose, the chat that time, the output might be really useful, but what might be useful is for us to really understand how it could help us too. Okay,
here we go.
Here we go. So we have 4 different options.
That one doesn't even have an L in it.
Okay, so maybe it's a different language. I don't know. Maybe we could have been more specific.
Yeah, maybe.
But I do like the bowl, the chopstick
this
vibe
one
with the little heat coming out of it. Yeah,
I like that one.
Okay, so we could take that and we could put we originated in 2023, and then we could have something else, and we could, So again, what I think we see here is that we have this new data that's been generated and this new information for us to use. But as humans, we can now utilize this to kind of maybe make it better.
Exactly.
Or make it more apt for what we want it for, because it might not be perfect. This is a very broad output, I suppose. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's the first one. Right, so we have our company, we have our logo. I think maybe now, what should we make next? Maybe like an ad?
I think like a social media campaign, because if you think of all social medias now, that's where most companies and marketing strategies are built towards.
Okay, so it obviously has something to do with noodles. Normally a marketing campaign is something that you remember, it stands out. There's a hook, it makes people look at it and think of it and stuff. So what do you think in terms of getting people's attention?
Well, I just think when I think of my social media and what's taken the internet by storm, it's raccoons. And I don't know if anyone else's is like that, and maybe that just says a lot about me, but raccoons are the internet mascot.
You've taken being random to a whole new level here in this one. Okay, so I'm just going to go with Corey's random thoughts on this, everybody.
We'll add something new, I think.
Okay, so you're going to say a raccoon with noodles?
Yeah, let's go
eating noodles, okay.
Raccoon.
Is the raccoon doing anything but eating noodles? No,
just eating noodles. I can't multitask. It's focused.
Okay.
It's focused on one thing.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, here we go. I'm excited to see. So it's creating. So
okay, it's creating. Okay. So so then the idea with this is we'll get this image output, and again, then we can think about, obviously with a marketing campaign, there'll be other things. There'll be kind of your slogan. You'll maybe have a hashtag because you want people to use the hashtag. So you have all these kind of things you want to be thinking about. But that's actually really cute.
Oh my god, that's so cute. Look at that now. You can't tell me if you didn't see that on social media, you wouldn't be like, I would love some noodles.
Okay, fair enough. That is actually very,
cute.
Very cute. Okay, well, I think we should stop there.
Yeah.
And now would be a good time to pause and put your entrepreneurial skills to the test. You've been given a grant to start your own company. Number 1, what is your company name? Number 2, what market are you operating in? Number 3, write the prompt from Image Creator that will provide you with some logo options for your company. And number 4, write the prompt for Image Creator that will provide you with what is needed for your ad campaign. Teachers, feel free to put some prompts into the website provided and see what's created. Great, so we hope you got on well there, and I'd love to know, Corey, the different businesses and maybe what was being generated in the classrooms around the country. Okay, let's do one more example. And I think this time, our friends in RT, I think we should create a new news campaign for them.
Okay.
So how about we tell Image Creator that we want create an image for RT News. And maybe we can provide that to them and see how they get on.
Okay, create an image for RT News.
Yeah. And then we're going to go create by raccoons.
Oh.
They were very cute in fairness.
So cute.
I'm sure other people maybe got inspiration from that idea. Like, you know, you seemed inspired anyway.
Very inspired.
You know. So we have this now generating. It's going to be, interesting. And actually, it's a whole new logo and all.
Yeah.
Like if you go to number 2 there in the top right.
Oh, yeah, look.
Yeah.
Up here.
So you have a new logo. It's like a new vibe, new color scheme, maybe. Now, the only thing is with this, it's actually probably not a good idea.
Okay.
I'm just thinking.
Right.
Because, in fairness, RT have their own brand.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they probably have their own brand identity.
Yeah.
And so, like, there is something called intellectual property, which basically means that, like, an organization has its own assets and it owns the rights to them. So, as much as we were trying to help, I don't think actually us putting this out on the World Wide Web is actually very helpful at all.
Yeah, and there's actually no new news. Like, we just put that into our prompt. So I suppose if this went out, that would be misinformation.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, it's really important for us to fact check stuff like that so we're not spreading misinformation as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this brings us to the importance of ethical and responsible AI.
Yeah, absolutely, Corey. And also, I think it's really important for us to be aware of not just that we know what's responsible and ethical, but we're looking at how other companies and other organizations are using AI and making sure that they're responsible and ethical, because we obviously have a voice too. And we need to know that we're empowered to use that voice if we feel things aren't being done for the right reasons or in the right way.
Yeah, and Amanda, as you can see here, we have the 6 responsible AI principles, and we have the definition beside them. But the definition is all jumbled up. It doesn't match the one that it's beside. Now would be a good time to pause and complete activity 2, the responsible AI matching exercise. So we have listed the 6 AI principles, but they are not matched with their correct definitions. Match them up correctly using the worksheet provided.
Super. So hopefully you got on well there, matching up those AI principles to their definitions. And actually, Corey, I think we should go through them because they are really important for people to understand. So if we start at number 1, which was reliability and safety, this is just about how AI can work for people across different contexts and conditions and should work well and not cause any harm to the world. Number 2 is privacy and security. So for this, it was about AI engineers always reviewing where are they getting their data from, what are the sources of the data, and also how is that data being protected. We know from our other episodes how important data is, but these other parts are important to consider as well.
Exactly, and then when we look at the third one, which is fairness, it talks about how AI should allocate opportunities, resources, or information in ways that is fair to people. And then transparency, I guess, is basically when AI is explained and it's explained well so that people understand it. But we can come into there because if we're using technology and we don't know how to use it, we should be asking questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 5 was inclusiveness. So in this case, we're talking about how the AI that's being used, it should be inclusive of everyone, of all populations, and therefore support those populations. And lastly, we have accountability. So accountability is just looking at when we're developing AI, that the people who do develop it, they are accountable for the systems they create, and they shouldn't be able to be interfered with in any way or used, I suppose, inappropriately.
Yeah, and I think what's a good idea is to actually see these responsible principles of AI in action, like in real life. Now would be a good time to pause and using the worksheet provided, complete the following. Part 1, review scenario A, B, and C provided. And part 2, complete the table by selecting 2 principles of responsible AI that are being neglected and the steps you would take to rectify this. Okay, so hopefully everyone got on okay with that activity. Let's have a look at the first scenario, which is all about the CEO of a new company who is developing and selling AI technology.
Yeah, exactly. And in this case, Corey, they were looking at using generative AI, which is great. But the only thing was they were taking image data from the World Wide Web, and a lot of the image data didn't have consent to use it in their product. So that's a big problem. And I think that flags straight away the privacy and security principle that we talked about. We said the importance of checking your sources of your data. So for me, that's definitely one principle here that maybe hasn't been abided by.
Yeah, and I think definitely another one is accountability, because they're the ones putting out this technology. And if they haven't even checked if they have consent for this image data, then they're ultimately accountable for that.
Yeah.
And even if we look at like the steps on how they can rectify that, I think they have to pull the technology. I think they have to start from start and then make sure that the image data that they're using, they have consent for.
Yeah, exactly. So Corey, we take a look at the second one here. So this one was about this AI image recognition tool that was helping triage patients. What did you think about this one?
The first thing that I thought of was like, it's not inclusive at all. Like if you look at the age range, it's 4 to 55. So you're leaving out a whole population of people there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that leads to the second principle I'd call out, which is reliability and safety. Because if we're deploying this tool into the healthcare system and we're saying this works to triage all your patients, that's actually not true. That's going to cause harm because it might misdiagnose people as well. So I think in terms of rectifying this, it's a great idea. It could even help reduce those hospital queues that we see sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think they need to make sure that that age range is expanded to be representative of the entire population.
Okay, so let's have a look at our last scenario, scenario 3, which was all about the AI hiring tool. What did you think of this?
Yeah, so this is interesting because I do know there are HR tools that use AI. In this case here though, Corey, the tool is based on training data of people in roles right now. And we kind of know that, you know, there is skewed kind of populations of people in roles. So if that's the only training data, I'm not so sure it's going to be accurate. Now, the issue I have is this is not very transparent.
Yeah.
So I think the company, in fairness, are thinking 99% of people are happy with this, but they're not explaining to their customers how their AI is working. Now, you could say that their customers should be asking questions too, but I do think there's a bit of transparency lacking there.
Yeah, and I don't think it's all that fair either, because if we think about it, like, as you said, it's only being trained on like one population of people, so it's missing out on people from different populations, different backgrounds, people with different skills. So ultimately, it's not really that fair, and in order to rectify it, I think they just have to have a bigger data set, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. So there are 3 scenarios, Corey, done. Hopefully everyone got on well with them. Now, I think what's interesting is there's actually lots of other scenarios you could look at with this. And I'd love for teachers to maybe take a look at some extension activities we've provided. Think about maybe doing some walk-in debates. We do them in Dreamspace. They're great fun, where students move around according to the statement and if they agree, disagree, or unsure. Because we really want you to feel empowered to use your voice about these things too. And a good quote to keep in mind when you're doing those activities is one from Brad Smith, who said, "Don't ask what computers can do, ask what should they do." So I think that really sets the tone for how you should be thinking about these things.
Brilliant, and I'd love to know what students think that AI should be doing. But that brings us to the end of our episode and to the end of our series. And we finished on a very important topic, which was responsible and ethical AI. And that spans across all the components of AI that we talked about: data, algorithms, and machine learning.
Perfect. So when you're moving forwards now, keep all of those things in mind. We hope that you feel that you're a little bit more AI literate now and that you're empowered to think about the future of AI and what that can bring for you and society more broadly.
Absolutely. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Slay. I'm Corey. There you go.
Go again.
You should know who I am by now. Killed that.
My throat. Yes, so generative AI is, no.
It's okay, so I guess that brings us to the whole important area of responsible. This brings us to the importance. Okay, let's go. The importance of responsible and ethical AI. So, man,
sorry. Where is that?
Slay.
Woo!
We done?